Wow, this water is so clear. It's awesome. Let's hope the fish are equally enthused today. All right, always getting soaked. Sure, we're forgetting something, but hopefully it's something we can live without. Let's actually keep the light one up front. We might do some casting if we see some surface activity. Okay, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, and fishing accomplices, good morning and welcome back to fishing. So it is October, I don't even know, I think it's the 6th or 7th or something. No, 8th. It's October 8th, 2025. My watch isn't even right, but it's one of those. And we are back at it. I am very exhausted. I have not slept a lot in the last 48 hours, but we are back at it. Long Island Sound, final weekend before opening of Tog season. And it's been one of the better ones for me in recent memory, particularly ones that haven't involved Montauk. So I've decided to go out to Eastern Long Island, not Montauk though, and we are going to try a brand new spot when I've never fished before, looking predominantly for black sea bass, but there are other options as well. And just like I've been saying for my previous videos, this is just as much me like scoping out some potential future spots, both for Tog and sea bass and other stuff, as much as it is about sea bass today. That being said, we're in October right now, and I probably could have said this in the last video, but one thing that tends to happen, you know, as the season progresses and you're in fall is some of the spots that are like restricted for parking permits tend to lighten up a bit. This one I hope is the case. Otherwise, my truck might be towed. I doubt it. Maybe a ticket. Hopefully nothing, but it's the dice being rolled today. So that's what I got planned. I'm hoping we get on something good. You know, lots of fish should be around. It's beautiful out today. It's almost too nice. I don't think we're gonna have like any wind at all. And you know, it should be ideal for kayak fishing. So that is what I have to say. Let's get it started for today and get some fishing accomplished. Okay, well, it is absolutely stunning out right now. Like, you couldn't ask for better conditions. I'm sure I'm not going to be alone out here today one way or another. If I am, great, but again, not counting on it. We're going to try and make our way pretty deep. We got Tide working with us to get out to where I want to get to, and once it does switch, I'll probably start working my way back. So let's get out there, looking at boulders, looking at least 30 to 40 feet. Keeping my eyes peeled. We got birds, but again, like albies is a possibility, as are bones, as are bonito, potentially even Spanish mackerel. But last time I was even remotely close to here, I didn't see a single real thing on the top water. So we're here for sea bass. I would love to take some home. If I can get a limit, that would be awesome, but we'll start with just getting one before we get ahead of ourselves. Let's do what we can and have a fun time. One last thing I'll note before we really get into it is this is the kind of spot where we're really going to put this Trolling Motors spot lock or anchor lock to the test. The tide can go incredibly strong here. Not so strong that it won't be safe, but we'll definitely, you know, see if this thing can hold up in some serious current. We may have to just straight up drift these fish if it comes down to it, but anchor locking could be an option as well. We will see as we get there. All right, well, this current is absolutely no joke. It's definitely making the trolling motor work. I'm not even gonna bother with light jig heads because they are not gonna be able to stay down there. We're about 50 feet. I don't even know if I can really make this work, but we will try. We got an 1.5 ounce jig head, Elias V tough tugger. I wouldn't be surprised. The only thing that'll really work here is just straight metal. Let's see what this is like. We are holding though. Wow, that's wild. We are flying right now. So yeah, I'm sure you can probably hear it. That motor is working pretty hard right now, and this tide is just absolutely intense. I think it's moving like in the neighborhood of about 3 knots. At first I tried to fish, this 1.5-ounce jig, but it was just simply not doing the trick. So after seeing how futile this was, I eventually upped the weight even more to some metal, and I was able to make this work to some level. But I'll just speak about how this felt. When I hit the spot lock initially, the boat would wobble a bit, and it would really try and jerk you back into the spot. And it was a little bit on the squirrelier side. I mean, fortunately it's flat calm, so it's not that big of a deal, but if there was any kind of wind, this would have been very sketchy. That is until the boat finally got right on top of the spot. At that point, it would basically steady out once it did find the spot. But I guess the sketchiness is in all the motions to try and get on that spot, because some of those initial movements, the torque, it kind of was a little jerky, and the way it hit you back and forth did feel a bit odd. So again, it's one of those things I could probably mess around with the settings, but just something to note for those of you that are curious about this motor and the spot lock in this kind of current. So in the clip that immediately follows, you're going to see what happens when you hit the spot lock initially on a day like today, with at least the settings in the boat I have equipped. The boat will try to reposition itself to get as close to where you anchor locked as possible, and it'll eventually find it. The sketchiness is in the repositioning itself, again, because it's having to move so fast against the current that backing up in that speed against that much resistance isn't necessarily the friendliest feeling thing in the world, as you'll probably notice in this next clip. All right, new spot. Same insane current. Might have fished a bit shallower today. There's something. Fighting some serious current right now, not just the fish. Well, that's what we expected. All right, well, we're able to make it work. I feel like we're locked a bit better right now. It's not as shaky. We got a sea bass. We put a little grub on the back of this, just to, it's a big piece of metal. So I make it clear where I want these fish to bite. Maybe a little better. Current is insane. Barely even feel the fish on there. They want that rub profile. I'm sure the squid strip would work too, but This is a bit more sustainable. Maybe. Insane current. Alright, well, I guess this can work too. Gonna have to do better than that, though. There it is. That's better. Gotta keep the pressure on these fish. Could be okay. Fighting so much tide right now. Wasn't a bad one. I'm gonna try switching rods. Some a little more backbone. Really gotta keep the pressure on these fish, so I'm gonna switch to my medium setup. Still pretty light, but turn the screws a little bit more on these fish with this, I think. That's more like it. Ooh, that's a good one. That's definitely a better one. Even with the current, I can feel those head shakes. It's better, but still got a bit to go. And I mean, that might actually even make 16 and a half. It's probably more like 16, 15 and a half, 16. I'm not going to stay in this rock too much longer. I've committed a fair amount of time. This is kind of the warm-up spot. All right, new spot. Looks promising. It's not too far from the last spot. About 55 feet of water, thereabouts. I think I got a bit of a rhythm of what I need to do to be successful. So now we just got to hit up enough spots until we find the fish we're looking for. This rock definitely has some fish on it. That was a good head. Jeez. Ooh, oh, dang. feel like some of those hits felt better than this, but they're not it. That's not a bad one. Not a keeper. Nah, I just look bigger in the water for a sec. Try one more. That wasn't a keeper. A lot of small fish. That could be okay. It's time to move. It's not a terrible one, but certainly not a keeper. All right, another new spot. Tide's settling down a little, I think. Either that or I'm just getting used to it. But new rock. This one's quite large, and I'm sure there are quite a few fish around. Just a question of whether there are large fish on this large rock. Babies, man. Baby sea bass. A little better. That's fine. I don't care. Oh. That one hit hard. That's a better one. Feels better. That looks like it might be a small keeper. That looks legal. And I'm not going to be picky. If he's 16 and a half, we're taking him. It's not that big. Try one more drop on this rock, then we're moving. I think new spot. I think I'm a little bit off this structure, but if these fish are fired up, we shouldn't need to be right on top of it. Ooh. Feels a little heavier. Yeah, that's a better fish, I think. But we're still down current, so. Tide is definitely slowing down, so I'm downsizing my weight just to the 1.5 ounce jig. All right, this spot I almost missed. It's barely even like noticeable on the charts. So let's see if it's holding anything good. Should be holding something if it's hard structure. It's a lot of weird stuff over here, like random hills or something. Tide's not moving much. Might be time to throw a squid down there. Find it hard to believe there's nothing on this. Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Finally. That's not terrible. I don't think he's a keeper though. If he is, he's like a barely keeper. Probably 15. Might be squid time. Oh man, that's the one. That's the one. That one's got some weight. It's like there has to be something decent on this spot. This one's definitely a keeper. Yeah, we'll net you. Just to be sure. Not a giant for these waters, but we got to start somewhere. Let's also not get this all soaked. Got to start somewhere. Almost 18. Put a waypoint on this spot. I'm gonna try jigging a little longer in this spot, then I'm gonna drop squid, and then there's a spot out here that these boats may or may not be on. I don't think they actually are on the spots that I'm looking at, and if they are, it doesn't look like they're anchored. They look really enticing to me. So if we found a fish here, definitely should be some out there. Just have to do it before the tide turns over. Nothing like a big old glob of squid to get these fish fired up if they're not feeling it. Not gonna give this too much time, but I'm certain there's still some fish on this spot that we haven't hit yet. Let's see if we can entice them with the squid. I apologize in advance for how this reel's gonna sound. You'll be happy to know I did order a replacement line roller and roller bearing, but we're waiting for it to show up. So in the meantime, noisy reel. Ooh. Oh man, that's a big one. All right, now we're getting somewhere. That's slack tide. Black tide squid action, baby. Gotta do whatever it takes to catch these fish. It's not that big. He just looked bigger because he was all blown up in the water. It's probably about the same as the first. Maybe even a little smaller. I don't know. He'll cook. He will be a guest of honor at our dinner, along with this guy. Oh man, I don't know if I got any of that, but yeah, we just got another nice sea bass. Hopefully you got some of that footage. 17.5. Make sure I get that part at least. Yeah, 17.5. Yeah, like I said, this isn't my preferred method to catch these fish, but if it's slack tide and you've got a good spot and you feel confident about it, then just throw some bait down there and keep it right in their face. It's probably the best method I've seen to get these fish when it's like this. Once that tide starts moving again, it'll be another story, but until then, whatever it takes. We're anchor locked and we're just like kind of slowly moving around this. And once you feel a little weight, just set that hook. Very lethargic. That one's not so big. Surprised how much quieter this reel's being today. You get to go back. You get to go home. Okay, we got a little bit more time before the tide really starts to pick up again. So I just want to hit these deep spots while it's an option, and then we'll probably start to have to move our way back because this tide, as we've learned, is not playing around. So I just want to try these spots. They're very deep. I'm not sure anyone's hit them yet, and I'd have to imagine there's something there, so let's give it a shot. All right, this is about as far out as I can probably get away with today. Wanted to hit this spot at least once. I was afraid someone already hit this, but I don't think the boats I was watching did go over this, or at least they're not fishing it like I am, so let's see if we can get down there quick and pull something out. Might already even be too late. It's like 92 feet down. Just for the heck of it, we gotta try it. All right. The one thing I did forget in my car was some heavier sinkers. I had some 5 and 6 ounces. So right now I'm resorting to 2 smaller ones together. It's unfortunate, but do what we can. Hopefully we won't have to do too much of this, but we'll find out. All right, this is probably the last deep spot I'm gonna try because this current's gonna get wild, and I don't think there's much I can really hold bottom with. You know, I had some heavier metals, but I snapped them off earlier this morning doing stupid things, so try a few with the squid, see what we can do. Got some nice big boulders in the bottom here, about 100 feet down. That one's a bit better. Sea bass. Oh, that's a good one. Maybe not. So I did find some fish in this area, but nothing all that great. And honestly, in retrospect, it was probably not the greatest idea to come out here because while there were some decent pieces of structure in this area, they were fairly spaced out. And considering that I didn't have a ton of time, I probably would have been better served staying in the zone where I got those keepers and working that area. But the way I looked at it at that point was I didn't find anything too great in that area other than that one spot. So I figured going out deep where it'd be much harder for other boats to fish might have been the play to go for. My philosophy right now, when you're fishing an area where there's a fair amount of pressure, is to go to areas where, particularly with isolated boulders, it would be tough for most people to fish in. There were fields of boulders and shallower, but my thought is, these aren't hard spots to drift, and a lot of the bigger fish, I think, have been picked off throughout the season. Whereas if you fish some of this isolated stuff, there might not be as many fish, but a lot of those larger fish maybe have remained intact over the season because it's not necessarily the easiest fish to target. So unfortunately, it didn't pay off at this point. But one thing that did happen on my way back was I did start to see some bird activity. I can't say for certain what it was. It may have been albies, it may have been chub mackerel, it may have been small bluefish. The only thing I do know is every time I tried to go after these fish, I just could not keep up. They were moving so fast. The one truly unfortunate reality was the one point where I did finally get, within casting distance of these fish. I didn't hook any fish, but I did hook something. Unfortunately, a seagull got wrapped around where I was fishing. I did my absolute best to unhook this thing with as little harm as possible, got the hook out, cut the line, and made sure that it flew away properly. I then tried fishing the shallows one last time, but by this point I didn't have a lot of time, so just finding small fish, I decided to just cut my loss and quit right there. Well, that's it for this one. I wasn't planning, but I think this is equally as much about taking the anchor lock for the Garmin Force Current really out for a torture test today more than anything. The fishing wasn't terrible. It's a new spot, so you can't ever or can't always expect it to be like the absolute best. It's definitely a spot I'll check out again. I think if anything it would probably be a better blackfish spot for me because a lot of that shallower stuff looked more appealing to me than fishing that deep stuff because man was that current just absolutely ripping. Garmin Force Current did hold its own. I will, I'm not above being critical of this motor. This was like the only kind of day I would ever want to fish that kind of current in my current setup. Excuse the double of the word. That current hitting that strong from behind you on the outback, it definitely, I guess I could have maybe like tinkered around with the settings a little bit, but like when you hit that anchor lock, it like you kind of drift off it for a sec and then it jolts you back. It does feel a little bit squirrely, like you kind of have to be really on top of your weight management. And on a day like today, it's not that big of a deal, but if it were like at all any kind of real wind, or if there was a lot of boat traffic and you were taking a lot of wake, I don't know that you'd feel so comfortable. But again, this is like the most torture test that I can think of current-wise. Like I couldn't see myself really throwing myself into anything more than what I was doing today. I mean, that was when it was at its worst, and again, it wasn't the whole session, it was just when it was at absolute peak flow. We were moving like 3 knots, and it did hold steady to an extent. Like it did wobble a little bit, like when it's trying to find it, but once it did get locked in, it did lock in. It just would take a little while. So if you're wondering what the Garmin Force Current is capable of in the anchor lock, it can hold in some pretty swiftly moving water. You just might not be super thrilled about how it feels, but that aside, it did what I needed it to do. This is like the extreme. I couldn't see myself really going much more than this current wise. In fact, I would never fish any current more than this anchor locking. Where it becomes more of an issue though is if you're fishing less current but you have wind, because today there was essentially no wind. But yeah, it still did what I needed to do to get those sea bass, and I'm really eager next weekend to get on some blackfish. This spot was definitely a good blackfish spot. I think maybe even a better blackfish spot than sea bass spot, because there was a lot of good deep structure, but not like those big chunky boulders that I like to lock up on. And even when I did, that current was moving so fast, it was almost impossible with what I had today to make it work. So that is it for today. I'll catch you the next one. Oh, and of course our drink review. This is some kind of watermelon. It's called Mela watermelon water. Oh yeah, that's definitely watermelon. Yeah, I don't know that watermelon needs to have its own beverage. It tastes like basically liquefied watermelon. A little bit on the sweeter side. I don't know if I love this. 7.5. That's the score. Fishing, 7.5, 8 today. I don't know. But that's going to do it for this one. I'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye from fishing.